Good morning. The Unitarian Universalists of New Braunfels welcome you to this Sunday service. I'm Sarah Laird.
And I'm Susan Curtis.
And we are leading the service together today. We're so glad that you're here. On the first Sunday of every month, Reverend Ade Krabah delivers the message. But on other Sundays, like today, members of the congregation or people from outside of the congregation lead the services. Both on Zoom, thanks to our wonderful technology team, or in person here in the gathering room. And we take precautions for our health and safety during the pandemic. Again, welcome to all.
I light this chalice, a symbol of the earth, a symbol of the light of our love for this beautiful earth. The reading today is from Love Letters to the Earth by Thich Nhat Hanh. We often forget that the planet we are living on has given us all the elements that make up our bodies. The water in our flesh, our bones, and all the microscopic cells inside our bodies all come from the earth and are part of the earth. The earth is not just the environment we live in. We are the earth, and we are always carrying her within us. Realizing this, we can see that the earth is truly alive. We are a living, breathing manifestation of this beautiful and generous planet. Today, we're celebrating Earth Day. Well, actually, the official Earth Day was 2 days ago. But who's going to quibble about that, since every day of our lives is Earth Day? Without this big blue planet, where would we be? Nowhere. What would we have? Nothing. So it's good to celebrate the magnificence of the earth on any day, and also as you use to celebrate the interconnected web of all existence, of which we are all a part, our seventh principle.
Now, don't have a copyright on this seventh principle of the interconnected web of all existence. We can find this concept in many spiritual traditions. Jesus said, "Whatsoever you do to the least of my brothers, that you do unto me." A Jewish teaching says, if you save one life, it's as if you save the whole world. The Buddha said, if this exists, that exists. If this ceases to exist, that also ceases to exist. And here are Chief Seattle's words. Humankind has not woven the web of life. We are but one thread within it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. And the African philosophy of Ubuntu is this: I am because we are. All these teachings about our interrelatedness are comforting. They help us feel that we are not alone, that we don't exist in a void. But along with the comfort comes the responsibility.
Because if we are interconnected, it follows logically that it is in our best interest to take care of each other. And that means taking care of everything on the planet, the land, the water, the air, all life forms, all of creation. Clearly, this idea of responsibility to our earth home hasn't sunk in yet. Or we wouldn't be fouling our nest, and climate crisis wouldn't be the greatest threat of our times. Will we reverse the downward spiral of pollution and climate catastrophe before it's too late? We don't know. Our national economy is based on consumerism, which is not compatible with environmentalism. So any significant progress will require a paradigm shift, a sea change in the way we think and the way we live. And that will be difficult, but giving up would surely be the worst idea. We must not decide that since we cannot do everything, we do nothing, because our interconnectedness means that even the smallest act of one of us affects everyone. So today, let's focus on UUNB's earth-loving actions that ripple out into the universe. How we express our UU values, especially our seventh principle in our individual behaviors. Thank you for sharing how you walk the walk, how you live lightly on the earth, and what you actually do to promote the well-being of our planet.
Let's start with one of the basics, the food we eat. Recently, as I have moved into plant-based eating, I've discovered the following disheartening facts. Animal agribusiness produces almost 15% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Cattle ranching accounts for 80% of the deforestation of Amazon rainforests, the lungs of the earth. The livestock industry is one of the heaviest users of our water supply, with just 1 pound of beef taking from 1,800 to 4,000 gallons to produce. 1,800 to 4,000 gallons of water to produce 1 pound of meat. Animal agriculture contaminates our water through soil erosion and also from the pollution from animal excrement, fertilizers, fuels, and pesticides. Livestock production is the single largest driver of habitat loss and the biodiversity crisis. So the health of the planet is reason enough to reduce animal-based foods in our diet, not to mention our own health and the welfare of billions of animals. Bob and I eat plant-based, as do Diane Rahm, Sylvia Manning, Kelly Schaefer, and Pamela Slate Schleicher. And I know of several others among you who are moving toward more plant-based eating. Now that was heavy, I'm sorry. There's just no way to make that a happy story. But let's move on. No less a genius than Albert Einstein made this statement. Nothing will benefit human health and increase chances for survival of life on Earth as much as the evolution to a vegetarian diet. And while we're on the topic of food, I remember an Earth Day service many years ago when this same Susan Curtis was our speaker. Back then, there was only a small amount of organic produce for sale at H-E-B. But Susan urged us to buy those few fruits and vegetables that had not been grown with the chemicals, herbicides, and pesticides that are so harmful to our soil, air, water, and our own health. She said, if we would just keep buying H-E-B's very small selection of organic produce, with time, the store would respond by offering more and more organic options. Doesn't it feel good to be so right, Susan?
Once.
There are organic foods all throughout the store now at H-E-B. And H-E-B has even created its own brand of organic products. This is a perfect example of voting with our dollars.
Okay, now let's talk about fossil fuels. We haven't noticed many Teslas in the UUNB parking lot, but there are lots of Priuses and other hybrids. You who have made the decision to go hybrid are making a difference. You are helping to slowly turn that ship around in the direction of a cleaner and safer environment. Jet fuel is another major pollutant. So the fact that Sylvia Manning and Peggy Vieira and Chili and Peggy Ornalis are fans of train travel is a good thing for the environment and a bad thing for fossil fuel industry. Single-use plastics, like this plastic bag and plastic bottle, is one of the best drivers of the demand for fossil fuel. 15 years ago, Paula Pebsworth raised our consciousness about using cloth bags, like this lovely bag. Now, let's say that during those 15 years, 60 of us used cloth bags instead of plastic bags at a rate of 10 bags a week. That adds up to 468,000 plastic bags. Every plastic bag is a plague on the environment, and every bag counts. Abandoning single-use plastic water bottles in favor of using reusable, this is my little sippy cup, I call it, results in another huge reduction of plastic waste in the environment. When we supplied the kitchen of our new building in 2008, we stocked up with plenty of washable cups, plates, glasses, and silverware so that we wouldn't be filling garbage cans with plastic and styrofoam throwaways, Sunday after Sunday. And now let's talk about solar alternative to fossil fuel energy. Jackie Russell and Jane Miller were the original solar pioneers here in New Braunfels. When they were building their house about 16 years ago, solar was such a new concept that it was hard to even get a solar permit approved. The city was concerned that solar might malfunction. I have to do the roll back of the eyes. Jackie and Jane were swimming against the current, pun intended. But they persevered, and now we see solar panels all around New Braunfels.
UUNB members are often environmental educators and activists. We try to educate policymakers with calls, petitions, emails, and protests about all manner of assaults on the environment. And sometimes that activism actually halts progress on something that would have been an environmental disaster. I remember being thrilled some years ago when public protests here in New Braunfels completely derailed an outer loop, which was scheduled to be built and to do great damage to the beautiful Guadalupe River. Enough of us, including UUNB members, spoke up, and they backed down. Hallelujah. And Susan Curtis, back in the mid-90s, was on the recycling committee for the city of New Braunfels. She said there was a lot of resistance to providing recycling in the city, and it took 3 years for them to get it approved. But finally, New Braunfels got a recycling service. And then another environmental activist, Diane Pepin, kept pestering her waste supply company to provide recycling options to people who did not live in outside the city. It took a while, but they finally responded to her request. And now she and many other customers who live outside of the city do have pickup for recyclables.
Diane Rahm is an expert on our government's environmental policies. I'm sure she's influenced her students and the faculty of Texas State University profoundly. And she's influenced us at UUNB with her talks and classes on climate change and other environmental topics. Several of us from this congregation, Sarah and Bob Laird, Jency and Dan Madden, Carol and Alan Summers, Mary Hitch, Van Green, Diane Pepin, and Mary Powell, Dwight Micklethwait, have all taken Master Naturalists and Master Gardeners certification classes and have volunteered hundreds of hours of work in direct aid of the environment. Jessica Blassingame Acox, our RE director, makes taking care of the earth a major focus in the children's religious education program. And today, the children's wonderful Earth Day art is displayed here in the back of the room. They will not forget the lessons they have learned here, and the planet will be better for their love in action. Jetta will now tell us what the RE children suggest doing to care for the earth.
Grow more plants. Stop
It's on.
Stop littering. Stop polluting the ocean. Stop chopping down trees. Get more trash workers to pick up trash. Only make stuff that is biodegradable. Reuse, reduce, recycle. Stop using plastics. Plant more native plants. Save endangered species. Compost.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Jetta. And thanks to all the children for their wonderful ideas. On to water conservation. Water will be like gold and diamonds in the future if we don't conserve it now in every small way possible. One water conservation measure is to landscape with native and adapted plants, which need much less water than conventional plants. Stuart Mills has the most gorgeous display of bluebonnets in his front yard every spring. I'm sure he waters it only rarely, if ever, never. But it really couldn't be more beautiful if he watered it constantly. Almost all of the plants on our campus, our church campus, are native and adapted also. And to water them, we have our own water catchment system. And taking it a step even farther, Van and Marcy Green and Jackie and Jane get all their water from rainwater catchment, as did Mary and John Powell back when they lived at the lake. So forward-thinking and environmentally friendly.
Reduce, reuse, recycle. It's our mantra. Is the environmentalist mantra, and composting is one perfect example of the 3 R's. Whether in a small place like Sylvia's Vermont summer residence, or country acreage like the Dunesmore homestead, or a suburban home like Mary Hitch's, where this year Mary and Bill composted kitchen scraps, leaves, and yard clippings and created 8 wheelbarrows full of compost from their garden. That was a boatload of waste and wasn't hauled away by a huge garbage truck spewing exhaust into the air. Plus, those 8 wheelbarrows, loads of compost, are helping Mary grow organic food that she doesn't have to drive her Prius to H-E-B to buy. Steve Boyd, Diane Pepin and Peggy Vieira have headed up one of our biggest recycling efforts, the UUNB garage sale, which is actually a twofer in that we both raised funds for UUNB. And I think, how much did we say?
More than $1,000.
Over $1,000. And we kept junk out of the landfill. Many of us are careful not to overconsume, and we practice recycling by shopping for gently used articles. As Kelly Schaefer says, when it comes to sustainable living, I rarely buy anything new anymore. I think long and hard before I bring another object into my house. And if I can't find it used, I think even longer and harder for buying something new. Another hugely successful recycling program that virtually all of us can participate in is the public library. Isn't it wonderful that hundreds of people can recycle one book?
Finally, I'd like to mention a form of environmentalism that isn't quantifiable, but is of enormous importance. I'm referring to a right-brained approach to advocating for the earth through music, art, and literature. For example, Yesenia singing River and Morning Has Broken Today, or Candy Carpenter creating nature art for our gathering room, or Barb Morell carving a vine motif into our picnic table outside. Or this gorgeous quilted wall hanging designed and created for us by Jessica, reminding us of the glory of wildlife. Or poetry with nature-based themes written by the poets among us. Tricia Stevens, Jose Contreras, Stuart Mills, Mary Powell, Irene Keller, Stephen Botts, and Tom Hodges. All these UUNB artists help create in us a deep connection with nature, and that connection causes us to want to do all we can to take care of the earth. And now, Irene will share her poem, Duality of Love.
Duality of Love. Under the backyard Texas oak, my small red-breasted friend stands on her yellow feeder, scurrying through leftovers, waiting for fresh seeds. I deliver as requested, then sit in my weathered lawn chair to listen to her song of gratitude as she eats her morning meal. As usual, her friends arrive acting as if they are stepping into their neighborhood bar, feet solid on the thin metal perch, to eat as they please. Away from the uninviting city, this morning ritual brings me a sense of calm, gratitude, laughter, as I sip from my Wyoming mug. Then oak leaves whisper above me. My gaze shifts from present to past. On a morning with no lawn chair, nor a friend singing her song, like an old huntsman, I sat, camouflaged, watching a moose and her calf. They stood in Clear Creek's cold ripples, enjoying their morning drink and willow breakfast, while looking like nature's Madonna and Child. My need to stand exposed me to the keen mother who looked my way, making sure no harm was near. I slowly crouched again. She nuzzled her child. Later, the moose and calf returned to the pines that stand taller than the Texas sky. I walked away on a Yellowstone path, wishing never to return home. But if I had stayed, I could not receive the morning gifts in my own backyard.
Thank you, Irene, and thank all of you for all you do to protect the earth, our only home. None of us can do everything, but all of us can do something. And little by little, a little becomes a lot. I extinguish the light of this chalice, but not the light of our love for the earth, our home.